Hello, everyone. How are you today? How's everyone today? All well, I hope. So just see if I can get my YouTube feed. For some reason, I can't. Never mind. It will come. All right. My name's Colin. Welcome or welcome back. I will be guiding you today through this OET Writing for Nurses live class from E2 Language. If you want to answer questions and submit answers and so on, do so please on Zoom through the chat box, because that's what we are all about here, about the chat box. I don't know why I can't get that. Try one more time, and I'll just give up. All right, well, I assume it's there, never mind. Yeah, through the chat box rather than the Q&A. Otherwise, I have to open up too many windows, and it's overwhelming for me. So anyway, let's get started. A couple of notices before we get into the writing. The first is that we have a new offer. E2 World is encouraging you to do a tiny little bit of work for us. 20-second video where you tell us who you are, where you're from, or where you're living, and how E2 Language makes you feel connected. Simple little task, 20 seconds only. And for that, for your troubles, you get a $10 voucher. There you go. Great value and definitely worth doing. We offer at E2 Language writing. That means that within a day or two of submitting work through our platform, based on case notes we provide for you, you'll get a comprehensive score report from the teacher. Talking about feeling connected, this is a very useful way of feeling connected, because otherwise I know what happens is that you can end up doing a lot of work yourself. Finally got my YouTube stream working. You can sometimes feel like, I don't know how I'm doing, I don't know how I can improve. Well, this is a very good way of getting direct feedback from an expert, as is a one-to-one tutorial. They take 45 minutes, and in the tutorial, you can focus on maybe one or two areas of the test. If you want to do writing, by the way, do make sure that you've submitted something for us to analyze. It's always good to talk about things that you're actually specifically doing. But you can do any of the skills, reading, listening, or speaking as well. It's just for those ones you don't need to prepare anything. But definitely worthwhile, as is the mini mock test. A mini mock test is a complete OET test. It's a couple of hours to do, one role play, piece of writing, and then all of the listening and reading. Okay, but if you've not done the test before and you're thinking of doing the test again, this is an excellent thing for you to do. So do book your mini mock test. In today's class, we're going to test your English with a little quiz. We will learn a method for completing the writing task. We will analyze that task. Then we will choose from the selected case notes, plan out your writing, write the start of the letter in a standard way. And then today we're focusing on the secondary issue and other details paragraphs. We'll then look at the model letter, check out the criteria, and complete the whole thing with a quiz. The whole thing will take about an hour, so strap yourselves in, it's going to be good. Have a pen and paper handy, because taking notes, I think, is going to help you on the day of the test, and it will help you today as well. Do a quiz in a moment, but let's review the verb tenses in English. There are 12 in English that we use, and we do use them all. From the blue ones at the top, though, are the ones that we use most commonly. So the present simple, for example, Mr. Lin urgently requires your expert assistance. The present continuous, Ms. Adams is currently receiving. The present perfect, Ms. Smith has been treated with cold compression therapy. Present perfect continuous, Mrs. Tran has been undertaking. And the past simple, Mr. Jones was admitted to St. Andrews 2 weeks after his operation. The other 7, as I say, we use obviously as well. It's just we use them a little bit less than the ones at the top. Hello. Oh, familiar names coming in. Hello. All right, so we're now going to do a little quiz. If you could please complete these sentences. You've got about a minute to do that. I'll see you in 60 seconds. Thanks for sharing your answers. Take a couple more seconds. All right, then let's have a look, see how you did. The nurse admitted that she had never seen such an aggressive case of shingles in someone so young. So you'll notice had never seen is the past perfect. Not for the first time, we have been forced, present perfect, we have been forced to reschedule the date of his operation. Number 3, we underestimated how much of an impact the antiretrovirals would have, that's the modal verb, would have on her autoimmune system. And number 4, could you put your shoulders here, lift your arms above your head, and then be sure to lie still until I finish the scan. Okay, thank you for your answers. Hope you did okay. Now let's take an overview then of the writing. The writing test requires you to read and analyze the task, to read and analyze case notes, and then to write a letter of referral, of discharge, or transfer. That's it. In the past, there were others. A letter to provide information, for example, doesn't exist anymore. So if you somehow come across something like that, just ignore it. Don't do it. It's bad and out of date. So referral, discharge, or transfer. It seems, and again, apocryphal information this, it seems that more often than not is referral, but the other two can come up as well. So best to be prepared. You have 45 minutes. The first 5 minutes is reading time. So treat it like reading comprehension time. You read the task, you work out who you're writing to and what action they need to take. Then you need to read the case notes to understand the key facts about the patient's condition, using the headings and subheadings to guide you. And then you need to identify relevant information, and you will decide if the information is highly relevant or even quite relevant. If it is relevant, it will go in. Will I have a main 4 questions in that situation? Yeah. So you're asking about answering the 4 questions I asked you at the very beginning. In a moment, I'll ask these 4 questions. Yes. You'll see. We'll get to the 4 questions in a moment, okay? And then you've got the writing time of 40 minutes. You've got to plan out 3, 4, or 5 paragraphs. You decide how many paragraphs there'll be. And today, of course, we're only focusing on 2 of them, secondary issue and other details. And you'll spend 30 to 35 minutes writing carefully, continually checking your work. Every paragraph has got an overriding main idea, okay? So 30 to 35 minutes, basically. So the 5 minutes of reading time that we spoke about, you will analyze the task. This is the minute that our friend was talking about. So you have a minute to analyze the task, work out who you're writing to, what action they need to take, what information they need, and what prior knowledge they have of your patient. Then you need to read the case notes to work out what is relevant, repeated and relevant, and not relevant at all. So those are the tasks. So here is the task, and you're going to spend 1 minute now answering these 4 questions. Who am I writing to? What action do I want the reader to take? What does the reader need to know? And what does the reader already know? Can you answer these questions, please? Okay, thanks for your observations. Let's see how you've done. Who am I writing to? Dietitian. What action do I want the reader to take? Provide appropriate care. What does the reader need to know? The patient's needs. And what does the reader already know? No prior knowledge. So on this kind of letter, it's normal that they have no prior knowledge, but sometimes they do. So you're now going to look at the reading case notes, all of them, and you're going to work out what is relevant, what is repeated and relevant, and what's not relevant at all. You'll note that we make a distinction between relevant and repeated and relevant because I want you to be aware and be careful about giving information more than once. Sometimes you can, sometimes we do, but I need you to be thinking about why you're including certain information. Okay? Why? Why do I need to know more than once about the fact that the patient's married? Why do I need to know more than once the patient's got children? Whatever. So there's quite a lot of things that you need to consider. Why do we do this organization? Well, according to the criteria, for content to get top marks, you need to make sure that key information is included and nothing important is missing. And then for conciseness and clarity, you need to make sure that no irrelevant information has been included. So include the relevant, exclude the irrelevant, in essence. So now you're going to spend 5 minutes going through these reading case notes. I will be quiet and I will wish you very good luck. Okay, thank you. Thank you for those of you who did share your observations. Certainly don't have to, but it's lovely to see what you're considering. Let's have a look then. In red then, we've got we call relevant. So patient's name, age, a little bit of social and family background. Very little really as far as past medical history, medications, admission. I suppose the most substance we're getting is from the discharge plan. Okay, so in red, this is relevant. In blue, however, a lot of gaps get filled in for repeated and relevant information. Okay, so particularly we now have the entire discharge plan, half of the medical progress, information there about admission and the hypertension. If you've got any questions at this point, you may want to ask me why this and why not that. Happy to answer them. Why? Okay, interesting. Why include the gardening? Why do you think I'm including the gardening? Yeah, good. Gardening because of the exercise. Smoker, non-smoker, and the alcohol. So look at the. I've not. I've talked about increased alcohol consumption, so it is included. But the non-smoker, for me, I'll be honest with you. So I didn't. Interesting. I suppose I should put the 5 to 6 glasses of red wine per day. That should be in blue. I'm sorry about that. Was an oversight on my part. But as you can see, alcohol consumption for weight management. If you somebody's talking about osteoarthritis, interesting because you think you can justify it. Okay, look, if you think you can justify putting it in because it relates to calcium and so on, I think okay, but I don't know. No allergies. Do I need to state that Mrs. Janet is female? Seems a bit over the top, don't you think? Yeah, and when somebody is a non-smoker, this is the absence of information rather than the presence of information. So it could be that if somebody's got some kind of breathing issue, that I don't know, lungs or whatever, you might want to say something about this non-smoking to exclude that as a problem. But I'm writing to a dietitian, so I don't think so. On the whole, my feeling about organising case notes is that if you can justify it, it goes in. If you can't, it should stay out. Okay. Right. So make sure you've taken a screenshot. And Michelle thinks that you should put nil allergies because the dietitian should know that. Okay. Let's move on. 40 minutes of writing time. A note which I mention every week is you really have to be flexible when you do the OET. Don't come in with a very fixed idea. It's got to be like this. It's going to be like that. As you see, the number of paragraphs can change. So Elizabeth asked, why do we need to include the medication if we're dealing with the dietitian? Because I think for the dietitian to do their job effectively, they need to know it. That's what. That's the feeling, and that's what you should be thinking about. That's what you should be considering when you do this task. Okay. So just to finish with this idea, flexibility is key. Don't think that there's one orthodoxy to the way that you compile your letter. Yeah, drug-food interaction. Good observation. So you need to write 3, 4, or 5 paragraphs. We're focusing on those 2 today. We'll get there in a moment. But let's talk about planning and writing first. You address the recipient in a certain way. You do follow an outline to do that. You need to take notes and plan out your answer. You'll decide how many paragraphs there'll be and what information will go into each of those paragraphs. And when you write, you'll continually check for the relevance and importance of what you're writing, leaving a few minutes at the end to check your work. Very, very important that you do that. So the letter outline is like this. At the top, you have the title and full name of the person receiving the letter, if you know it, then their job title and full address. After that, you put the date. What date? The date of the test. Don't start worrying too much about what it might be. Oh, it could be this and it could be that. Don't worry, just put the date that you're writing the letter. The reference line, the patient's title, their full name and age, or their date of birth. With the date format, I think just an 8-number format is quite good with slashes in between. So then, dear Dr. Mr. Mrs. Ms. and their family name, and then you write the letter. Yours sincerely at the end, or yours faithfully if you don't know their name, and then just write the word nurse or charge nurse. That will do. You've got 90 seconds now to take the information which you can see on the left-hand side and put it into the outline. Nice. So there it is. Ms. Mary Petronis, dietitian, 48 Main Road, Old Town, 16/01/2019. Then you put the reference line, Mrs. Janet Fagan, 63 years old. That will do. And then, dear Ms. Petronis, and then yours sincerely at the bottom, registered nurse. If the date of the letter goes above, I don't know, is the dietitian a woman? If we know it's a doctor, put doctor. Again, this is very minor. Don't sweat it. I mean, when you write to some of these registrars, you're writing Mr. instead of doctor. Don't panic. If you know it's a doctor, put doctor. If you don't worry about it. It won't fail you the test, believe me. So if the date goes above Ms. Mary Petronis or below Old Town, it doesn't matter. If the reference line goes above dear Ms. Petronis or below it, that doesn't matter either. If you wrote your date in a slightly different format, that doesn't matter. It's really, really important that you understand that you need to know how things ought to work and you need to get it pretty much right. But this isn't where your letter will pass or fail the test for you, okay? Where you will really feel the marks is in the middle here, from the introduction through to the west, okay? There's 180 to 200 words that you'll be writing there. So let's talk about that. Planning and checking the case notes. You will decide how many paragraphs will be in the letter, and you will decide what information is going to go in each of those paragraphs. Remember, we're just focusing on those two today, secondary issue and other details. What does that mean? The main issue is being covered. What are the other issues that we need to cover? So what I'd like you to do now is to spend 90 seconds on the information that you believe should be included in the secondary issue, other details. Okay? See you in a minute and a half. Nice. And thank you very much for your observations. Let's see. This is what I've got. Okay. Secondary issue and other details are as follows. We've got social family background, 5 to 6 glasses of red wine per day. I'm sorry that was not highlighted in red color in the notes. I'll rectify that afterwards. High red meat, low vegetable diet, country walks at weekends. On admission, BMI 29.9, so that's elevated. Medical progress, patient agrees to alcohol reduction and limited to weekends. Weight goal, 66 kilos, BMI 24.2 reinforced. Blood pressure goal, 130 over 90 reinforced. Past medical history, most recent diet, last 2 months, lost 2.6 kilos. Discharge plan, increase light exercise regimen, 50 minutes per day to 30 minutes per day. Okay. So, useful language that you might want to make this work for you. Diet consists of, in order to, needs to reduce, would benefit from. So, what I'd like you to do now is to write your secondary issue and other details paragraphs. You've got 7 minutes to do this, okay? I'll see you all on the other side. Good luck. Okay, thank you very much. Let's have a look then. This is what I've got for these two paragraphs. Mrs. Fagan has a BMI of 29.9, although she recently dieted and lost 2.6 kilos and regularly goes for walks on the weekends. She drinks 5 to 6 glasses of red wine per day, and her diet consists mainly of red meat rather than vegetables. Next paragraph. In order to achieve her ideal weight of 66 kilos and BP of 130 or 90, Mrs. Fagan will need to reduce her alcohol intake and maintain a low-fat diet. She would also benefit from 30 minutes of daily exercise. Here's the letter. At this point, you may want to take a screenshot. I think that would be helpful. Interesting to note in this letter that the request paragraph is the most substantial of all. Notice quite a lot to indicate there. So I would be grateful if you could prepare a long-term dietary plan for Mrs. Fagan, in addition to encouraging her to lead a healthier lifestyle and maintain medication. She's been provided with a BP diary and so on. So that's quite a substantial amount of information there. Okay, make sure you've got that all. Okay, nice one. So back to the criteria. The criteria, specifically language and cohesive devices. They are very important elements of grammar, and they should be used correctly to assist the meaning of what you're writing. So another screenshot here for you on cohesive devices. Conjunctions. I think we mentioned conjunctions last week as well. You can never have too much of them. The fanboys, for and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Other things like both and either, all of the others speckled through in the middle there, provided that, now that, in the event that. Those relative pronouns, which, who, when, that, whom, and so on. Example of the conjunctions and the cohesive devices we have here. Dr. Smith, comma, who has been practicing for over 40 years, comma, is both up to date and open to some of the more radical therapies. Okay, so we've managed to combine the sentences using conjunctions, cohesive devices effectively. So relative clauses, which we just saw in that sample sentence, and to explain, we're using the relative clause. Relative clauses, comma, which are very useful, comma, usually include one of these words, who, which, that, where, whose, and whom. So have a look at these examples. St. Thomas's, comma, which is the biggest hospital in the city, comma, is seriously understaffed. Dr. Spivey, comma, whose work on Lyme disease has been widely published, comma, will be giving a talk this evening. The accident and emergency department, comma, where our patients are triaged, comma, is in dire need of extra seating. So I'd like you to look at this example here. We've got several ideas that can be compressed into a single sentence using cohesive devices. Mrs. Hamer felt weak. Mrs. Hamer's blood pressure dropped suddenly. Mrs. Hamer sat down. Mrs. Hamer put her head between her legs. Putting her head between her legs made Mrs. Hamer feel better after 15 minutes. So all of those sentences, notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences, becomes Mrs. Hamer, comma, who was suffering from weakness as a result of sudden onset low blood pressure, comma, remedied the problem by sitting with her head between her legs for 15 minutes, and then she felt better. Okay. Notice the non-defining relative clause, separated from the rest of the sentence by commas. Is there a fixed format? Well, not exactly, but what Ramit is asking is there a standard flow of the letter? Not exactly. There should be a logical flow. If you can think what the logic is, why am I, for example, including admission details first, and then this, and then this, and then this? There will be, if you like, a logic to it, as long as you can. Which slide do you want to see? The previous slide to this. Voila. That one. Okay. Take a screenshot. Okay. right now. Here's your quiz task. You've got these groups of sentences here about PTSD, about heartburn, and about Mary. Take 2 minutes, please, to rewrite those as single sentences using cohesive devices. Okay, I'll see you in Okay, thank you. Let's have a look. PTSD, comma, which is prevalent among ex-servicemen, comma, should be treated with medication and therapy. Number 2, his heartburn, comma, which was worse after meals containing wheat, comma, was alleviated with OTC medication. And number 3, Mary's rash, comma, which got very itchy every time she went swimming, comma, was very painful. Okay, so thank you very much for that. Thank you for your input. What can you do? How can you improve? Look no further than our platform, which is filled with interesting information. Do also, of course, regularly check out the official OET website, occupationalenglishtest.org, for up-to-date information about the new test, which is going to be very interesting, and also information on the writing. Podcast for your listening, ABC in Australia, BBC in the UK, CBC in Canada, NPR in the US. All health-related, please. Focus on health-related podcasts, like with TED Talks, TED.com/talks, and the Science Daily articles should also be medically relevant. I think that's an important premise. And that's kind of it for today. If you've got any questions, I'll happily answer them. Don't forget to 20-second video saying who you are, where you are, and what it is about ABC, BBC, and NPR, Ramita. What it is about, is there a new mock test? I don't know, actually, should check that. Thanks for asking, Michelle. I'll follow that up, find out. Okay. So yeah, make your video about what connects, what makes you feel connected about E2 language. And don't forget, we've got the mini mock test is also useful. Somebody's just asked if there's going to be another one. I will find out. Okay. Any other questions? By all means, go ahead and ask. What's more correct in writing? She was diagnosed with or she's been diagnosed with? Doesn't matter. One is past simple, one is present perfect. Doesn't really matter. So was diagnosed with is done and dusted, has been diagnosed. I suppose gives the idea of something a little bit more recent. Oh, exams on the 27th. Are you doing a pen and paper exam? I imagine so. Good, pen and paper. All right. Nice one. Yes. So the 180 to 200 words is relevant for the information that is between the introduction and the request. Okay. Okay. All right then. Thanks everyone. I'll be back again tomorrow with writing for medicine. Appreciate all of your input, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. All the best with your preparations. Sleep well. Bye bye.